what a beautiful day for a great announcement. Thank you all for being here. And I want to thank Senator Regan, Representative Barrar, James Steele, and Elizabeth Benke and family. Did I pronounce your name right? Ben. Ben. Okay. What a way to start off an announcement. So, Elizabeth, thank you very much for being here, and your family. Thank you to the Pennsylvania National Guard members, too. This is really a great day for you, and it's a great day for your families. The support the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs offers to Guard members and their families across the Commonwealth is one of the highest points of pride for my administration. I want all of you, members of the National Guard and family members, to know that while you have our backs, we have yours. And we're committed to doing everything in our power to support you as you serve your duty to the National Guard, to the people of Pennsylvania, and to our nation. And that's why today I am proud to be here, and I'm going to sign in just a minute, the most comprehensive education benefit in the country to support our Guard members and this is the key point, and their families. The families of the unsung heroes. They hold down the fort. They take on many extra roles and offer endless support for the service member, whether at home or deployed. The PA GI Bill is one more way that we can support both the service members and their families. The Pennsylvania GI Bill is another name for the Pennsylvania National Guard Military Family Education Program, but Pennsylvania GI Bill is what we know it as. It's a program that will provide a benefit that National Guard service members can earn to transfer to their spouse or their children if the service member reenlists for service. The benefit must be used for the cost of education at a Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency approved educational institution. The GI Bill benefit will provide assistance for up to 10 semesters, that's 5 years equivalent, of in-state rate of Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education schools. This bill will enable the National Guard service members to transfer education benefits or defer the benefit by designating eligible beneficiaries up to the time that they complete their National Guard service. And spouses will be able to use the educational benefit immediately or up to 6 years after the service member separates from the Guard. The Guard's Education Assistance Program supports 2,212 National Guard members in over 161 educational institutions in the Commonwealth. That's right now, with over 42% of them attending PASHE schools. With this new program, service members, spouses, or children can take advantage of the educational opportunities at a PASHE school or another institution to earn certificate, associate's, or a bachelor's degree, all in support of those who support our service members. There's only one other state in the country, Minnesota, that offers a similar program that is actually for spouses only, to avail themselves of educational credits, but that's only in Minnesota, only if it's unused by the service member. So let me say once again, the Pennsylvania GI Bill is the first and only one in the nation. With the PA GI Bill, Pennsylvania is leading the way on a program I think we can all agree provides fitting support for our service members because it supports them and their families. We plan to make Pennsylvania the strongest workforce in the country, and we know that our economic future depends on a well-educated, highly trained workforce. Helping our service members and their families obtain post-secondary education without a financial burden goes a long way to help us all meet this goal. We can educate those military families here in Pennsylvania, helping to set them on a successful career path in the Commonwealth, and that is a good thing for all of us. So I'm proud to sign this bill, but before I sign it, let me turn this over to the prime sponsor of the legislation, Representative Chairman Stephen Barrar. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Governor Wolf, for hosting this event. And today we're here to celebrate the members of our Pennsylvania National Guard and their families. We certainly have the best National Guard in the nation. Today is not just a great day for our Guard members and their families. It's a historic day for the Pennsylvania National Guard. Today, our governor will sign into law landmark legislation that guarantees a Guard member's spouse or child a college education. But not for free. It comes with a responsibility, accepting a responsibility, and 6-year tour in our National Guard. This legislation, introduced by Chairman Sainato, who could not be here today, and myself, was also introduced by the Veteran Affairs Committee in the Senate by both chairmen. Our staff worked together to get this legislation right. This included House members and Senate members, Democrat and Republican staff working together, working dozens of hours to get this across the finish line. Thank you to all those staff members. This legislation creates an incredible incentive for Guard members to re-enlist because we need them. They are amongst the most highly trained soldiers in the world. But make no mistake, Guard families sacrifice just as much as their loved ones in the Guard. I am humbled and honored that I've had the opportunity to work with so many lawmakers and staff on this legislation that all acknowledge the sacrifice that the Guard members have made. We thank you for these incredible men and women who protect our country year to year, 24/7. But the life of a military spouse is not an easy one at all. They must assume additional responsibilities to keep their homes running. They have to offer more support to their children who are impacted at a time when there's an overwhelming void in their lives because their loved one is absent. We're asking them now to do more. I've seen this play out in my own life. One of my daughters is married to a Navy pilot, and she becomes solely responsible for their 3 little girls who are under the age of 7 when he is away. She also takes control when the family is relocated, and she does that many times over the past few years. That's a lot to ask for someone. I also brought with me a friend of mine, and Jake is back here, Jake Andrus. Jake has a 14-month-old baby girl. And Jake personifies, he exemplifies the reason for this, that we need this legislation. His little girl at 18 months will be one of the people who benefits from this. Jake is also a police officer in one of the towns that I represent. And he really tells us, he shows us what the citizen soldier is all about. This legislation is the first of its kind in the country. For that, we all should be very proud. It passed every chamber of the House and Senate with a unanimous vote. Thank you for everyone who helped to advance this bill through the legislative process. Governor, thank you for your support. This would not be happening without you. My good friend who could not be here today, Chris Sainato, he's away, unfortunately. Chris has been a valuable leader in the journey to pass this legislation. Senator Mike Regan and Senator Lindsey Williams co-sponsored the companion bill in the Senate, and thank you for your leadership in this. You guys did a great job. I will save that one. Dusty Durant, the legislative liaison to the Department of Military Veteran Affairs. Thank you, Dusty. You were instrumental in getting this done. And of course, the Pennsylvania National Guard Association for coordinating an amazing lobbying effort that was instrumental in getting this bill across the finish line. And one of the unsung heroes in this was Representative Tim O'Neill. Tim O'Neill had introduced a similar piece of legislation. And then when the governor came to us and asked us to do this piece of legislation, Representative O'Neill gracefully stepped aside and said, do your legislation first, it's more important. I would also like to thank all the members of the House Veteran Affairs and Emergency Preparedness Committee for their support, as well as House and Senate staff for all their hard work. The advocacy of so many people translated into an unbelievable win for the Pennsylvania National Guard and their families. Thank you, and may God bless our members of the National Guard and their families and keep them safe wherever they may be. Thank you, Governor. It is my pleasure to introduce the Adjutant General, General Anthony Corelli, who works very closely with us. And I'll tell you what, there's no bigger advocate in the National Guard for all you and your family than General Anthony Corelli. Thank you, General.
Thank you, Juan, and good morning to everyone. It's what a great day for Pennsylvania and for the National Guard, in particular our families. And if you look between the spaces here, you can see a lot of the kids behind me. This is what it's for. This is, it's not easy to be in uniform. We ask a lot of our guardsmen. Thousands of our guardsmen right now are out of the country on deployments, on training exercises. It's not an easy life, and the families bear the brunt of that. So our families sacrifice so much. For Pennsylvania to be the first state to stand up and say, you know what, our families really matter to us, and we're going to do something about it. So I thank the governor for his leadership on this throughout the entire thing, from when we first came up with the idea. The governor and the entire staff extremely supportive. I want to thank the committee, our chairman, Representative Barrar and Sainato, the Senators Regan and Williams, who got us all started, and then, of course, Senator Iovino, who helped us get it across the finish line. And the entire legislature, as was mentioned, overwhelming support, unanimously adopted in both chambers. We couldn't be happier about it. The support we got from FIA is phenomenal. They've helped us change our existing education program. We made some modifications to that to make it even greater than it was. We're doing some technological advancements that's going to make Pennsylvania's education program one of the best in the nation. So we thank FIA for their partnership. We thank PennGas, was previously mentioned, for their big effort, and all the colleges and universities of Pennsylvania that were able to be brought into this really through PennGas. To help us get this bill passed, but they're also doing fabulous things for our family, for our guardsmen, and for our veterans in all the universities and learning institutions in Pennsylvania. We want everyone in our military families and our veterans families to feel comfortable and wanted and have their wants and needs taken care of at all of our universities. So I thank the schools for doing that. Our staff at the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, legislative staff, Dusty was mentioned, all his staff, phenomenal amount of work to get this across the finish line. And I also want to thank our recruiters. From the very beginning, we brought both our recruiters in, the Army recruiters, the Air recruiters, to really talk about how this would work. And that's really what started the basis for the administration for this. It's a great bill. It's great for Pennsylvania to lead the way throughout the nation. Over the last week and a half, I was in Germany on military duty. The deputy commander of Army forces in Germany came up to me during last week, all the way in Germany, of course, and comes up to me. He was a former adjutant general of Georgia, and he came up to me and asked me he says, your military family education program, where is that? I said, you heard of that? He says, everybody's heard of Pennsylvania's program. And I told him it had just passed, and we're going to do the bill signing on Monday. And he says, you can't believe how big that is. I said, no, I completely understand how big it is for our people in Pennsylvania. And I've had at least a dozen other adjutant generals from around the country ask me for copies of our legislation, because I know this is going to be copied. But one thing that struck me that he had said, he says, no, he says, you don't understand the impact of this and what Pennsylvania is doing. He said, Pennsylvania is going to completely change how guardsmen families are treated over in the entire nation. He says, you just can't believe how big this is for everyone in the country. He says, somebody had to be first, and we're very proud that it was Pennsylvania first. So thank you so much for everyone that made this day possible. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce our chairman of the Senate Armed Services and Emergency Preparedness Committee, Senator Mike Regan.
So good morning, everyone. It's so great to be here with you. Beautiful, beautiful day, and so appropriately in Soldiers Grove. Being flanked by the awesome muscular Stryker and the newest addition to the arsenal, the Stinger, which is over there on the left-hand side. Not to mention the great men and women who serve our country with such honor every single day, the members of the Pennsylvania National Guard. We need to give them a round of applause. So this is going to be something you don't hear a Republican, especially a Republican during budget time, say very much, but I'm going to say it. Governor Wolf, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is so... So this is something that I think is so important because, as General Corelli said, recruiting right now is not really the issue. As a matter of fact, my son, who's 17 years old, is actually at that point in his life. He's a rising junior, and he's talking about going into Pennsylvania National Guard. And I can tell you right now that he is not thinking about 6 years down the road, right? He's not thinking about when it comes time to reenlist. He's thinking about the here and now. But when you get 6 years down the road and you're starting a family, you have a wife and you have kids, maybe staying in the Guard isn't exactly the right thing for you. We needed an incentive for that reenlistment rate. And that's what this is. What a great benefit. As someone who has 4 children and paying an extraordinary amount of money to put my kids through school, having this benefit will be something that will keep our high-level, highly trained Pennsylvania National Guardsmen in place. And we all know it's a family commitment. I know from my law enforcement time, it's a family commitment. You know, when that soldier is off fighting the wars or he's off a training or whatever he's doing, you know, someone's at home cutting the grass. Someone's at home shoveling the snow. Someone's at home carting the kids to sporting events, doing all those many things, dealing with the plumbers, dealing with all the things that happen in life. Who is that? It's the spouse, right? So it's so important that we recognize the service and the sacrifice of the spouse so our soldiers can go off and do what they got to do. Thank you to Chairman Barrar and Chairman Sainato. Look, we talked early on, initially when this bill was proposed by the governor, and we said we don't care whose name is on it. We just care that it gets done. One of the really beautiful things about this committee is it's about working together as Republicans and Democrats. Quite frankly, it should be how all government works, but many times it is not. We work together as Republicans and Democrats, all for the great, great, great men and women who so proudly wear the uniform of the United States of America. What a beautiful thing. Thank you to Senator Williams. Senator Williams is no longer the vice chair. She's moved on to another committee, but she was right in there with us during this whole process. She was brand new as the Senate, and she dug in, worked really hard on this bill. And we have a couple other bills, the 911 bill and the Civil Air Patrol bill that she was a vital part of, and I'm so proud. Thanks to my staff, Nate Silcox, who's over there, who did a great job. I know Artie Griffin did a wonderful job. I saw Artie standing over there for Senator Williams, Sean Harris and Rick O'Leary. Great people who just work really hard. What would we do without our staff? I have no idea. We wouldn't be standing here, I can tell you right now. They're very responsible for the things that we accomplish in this thing. So God bless America. God bless our soldiers who protect us. And I'm so honored, so incredibly honored to have been part of this bill. God bless everybody. Thank you so much. As I was talking about her, I forgot to introduce her, my good friend and colleague in the Senate, Senator Lindsey Williams.
Hi, everyone. I'm honored to be standing here today as the prime co-sponsor of the Pennsylvania GI Bill. As Senator Regan said, you know, being new and having my first piece of legislation signed into law to be a pro-education, pro-working families bill is exactly why I wanted to be in the state Senate. I'm even more proud that this bill also not only supports our National Guard service members who are here today, but also their families. You know, they make so many sacrifices, but as been said a number of times today, their families do a lion's share of the work that often doesn't get recognized. This legislation honors their commitment in one of the best ways by allowing them to continue their education. Since this is the first program of its kind in the country, I think it's appropriate because our Guardsmen and women are some of the best in the country, and I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for your service. Thank you very much. I'm thrilled that this legislation passed both chambers unanimously because it showed the rest of the country the great pride that we take in our National Guard members. And so thank you all for being here, and thank you for Governor Wolf for working on this and pushing it forward. With that, I will introduce President and CEO of FIA, Jim Steele.
On behalf of FIA's board chairman, Representative Mike Pfeiffer, and our vice chairman, Senator Wayne Fontana, I want to thank the governor and the members of the legislature for this opportunity to be here today at this exciting event. I can't think of a better way to start our 4th of July week than being at a bill signing honoring those who serve in the National Guard as well as their family members. FIA has partnered with the Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veterans Affairs since 1996 to administer the Pennsylvania National Guard Education Assistance Program. The Tuition Assistance Program is for those who serve 6 years in the National Guard, and as mentioned, this new bill will expand that benefit if they reenlist for members of the service member's family. We are looking forward to building on our 20-plus year partnership with the Guard in administering and implementing this new and exciting program. And it's important to remember, as many have already mentioned, the family members. And it's really the family members of the Guard members themselves who really make a lot of sacrifice and allow the members of the National Guard to serve our Commonwealth and to serve our country. So it's really important, and FIA really appreciates the opportunity to be part of and play such a key role in a program that supports the family members of Guard members. And we're proud and excited about this, not just because it's part of our core mission and ties in directly to promoting access to higher education, but FIA actually has about 75 employees who are active members of the Pennsylvania National Guard. So it's really a core part of our DNA and who we are as a state agency. So to all the National Guard members, as well as their families, and on behalf of FIA, its employees, its board of directors, thank you for your service to our Commonwealth and to our country. I'd now like to introduce Elizabeth Benge, as well as her family, who are going to speak next.
Thank you, Governor Wolf, General Corelli, members of the Pennsylvania General Assembly, and the entire Department of Military and Veterans Affairs for having the foresight to create a program that looks after the families who support our National Guard. This program couldn't come at a better time. My husband, Seth, has served 13 years in the Pennsylvania National Guard. We have 3 children. Our oldest couldn't be here today, but Jenna has had to put herself through college and is currently enrolled at Shippensburg University. Our son, Joe, will be attending American University in the fall through various grants and student loans. But it's our youngest daughter, Katina, who will benefit from this education program in 3 years when she graduates high school. Now that this program has come to fruition, my husband and I are greatly relieved to know that her college dreams will be a reality. As important as it is to earn a college education, it's also extremely difficult to pay for that education. Coming out of college with a huge student loan debt can be challenging, even insurmountable. I look beyond my family and see so many National Guard families with young children or a spouse who want to go to college and get a degree. Many of them are working hard to live day by day. Affording a college education can seem to be a pipe dream. But now with the Military Family Education Program, every qualifying National Guard family in Pennsylvania can see their way forward to a good education for a military spouse or their children without the impossible loan debt. Family members sacrifice so much when the ones we love are deployed, drilling, or just work late. We are grateful that Pennsylvania is not only caring for those who protect our freedom, but are also looking after those who sacrifice in our own right as their support system. So thank you for looking after our PA National Guard members. Thank you for looking after all of their families, and thank you for looking after my family. Now, Governor Wolf, on behalf of all the Pennsylvania National Guard families, I invite you to sign the Military Family Education Program into law.
Sorry.
Hey guys, want to keep coming over here? Come right here.
Out of the way.
I won't bite. I'm a Marine. You stand in front of me. This bill's for you guys. And he'll sit down. You'll be able to sit. You sit down.
Thank you for being here. How are you? Thank you for now. Yeah, college stuff. Right?
This way, good.
There we go. So I have 6 pens here. I'll give you 3 and I'll give you 3 and you can split them up however you want to do it.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the
First day of July.
first day.
It is already.
Yes. Nice way to start the 4th of July celebration, right?
That's right.
Beautiful.
My husband already has one here down. Now I can say I'm my own.
Should have done that too.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Here we go.